And you're still doing it to this day. Because, I see the photos and everything of where you are. And it's crazy. It looked like you were in Ukraine. Can you confirm that or no?
I am working for Save Our Allies. It's who I volunteered with in Afghanistan to go to Afghanistan. And Save Our Allies has been in Ukraine since February. And they have been, I know I'm a little biased here, but they have been doing the most. If you took every organization, every NGO, every nonprofit, and you boiled down to what they got to the front line, we've done more.
More than Sean Penn?
Man, there's
Sean
one fella.
was over there too.
What about you two? You two played a concert.
Yeah, in a subway, dude.
Did you guys play a concert?
We did. So Nick Palmisciano.
It was a rave.
Just was in Ukraine. Filming a concert, and I don't remember. So John, the musician, wrote this famous song about Ukraine, and so he went back and refilmed the song in Ukraine with the Ukrainian orchestra at their famous airport in Kyiv, at the hangar that got bombed by the Russians. And evidently, so the generals all came down to watch this thing, and it ended up being like, this was last week.
No shit.
Yeah. I don't know if I was supposed to say anything.
Well, it's live.
It's out.
It's already happened now.
So like that we did. We filmed a music video, and I am doing the best that I can to support the organizations in the ways with the things that I'm good at, and some of that is useful. And
because the background, again, not saying you were there or weren't there, the background appeared to be Ukraine. That's what it looked like in a photo that I saw on the interwebs.
Man, I have a lot of mixed feelings about Ukraine. The one that I know for sure, I guess I have two. I have two feelings. One, I hate Russia. Communism sucks. They destroy everything that they touch. And two, those poor people of Ukraine. They are just stuck between
a fascist and a fascist.
And then corruption and corruption.
Yeah. And then I
know we use the word fascist so easily, but as somebody that doesn't like communism, I think there's times where you could look at things that I say and that's kind of like a fascist thing. It's like, no, that's just an anti-communist thing. And so I just really don't like them, but I also hate fascists equally. I don't know.
Anybody that has political opponents arrested and media organizations shut down, to me, is a fascist.
Yeah. Who said that if you want to know who the real dictators are, find out who you're not allowed to negatively talk about? Who said that? It's a famous person.
I think it was Forrest Whitaker. That's just top of my head. Not really sure.
It was in Ghost Dog, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was in Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai, yeah. Not sure who it was, but I wanted to ask your honest opinion on it from someone who has friends there, or has maybe been there once or twice. What do you think the end result is going to be between the Ukraine and Russia?
Russia wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they've already
well.
won. They've secured the territory in the east that they want, and there's nothing Ukraine, unless we invade, unless NATO invades.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing Ukraine can do to take it back.
And in the encroachment and in kind of like operational bleed is that front line continues to creep towards the west. It will continue to move. And they're going to continue to take the same playbook that they have used for 4 or 5 different times in the past 20 years. And like with this open crescent thing where the tips of the crescent close and then the line moves forward and they push forward again. They just do this crab walk thing. It's genius, and I hate them. But
but it's effective.
Well, they fight. They're willing to fight wars of attrition because their leadership doesn't value human life at all.
We're just going to throw these young kids. All the young kids got killed. Yeah, cool. We'll send the Chechens. Cool, the Chechens got killed. Cool. We'll send our Russian special operations units. Oh, they won. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's throw another 10,000 bodies at this.
Well,
they don't care.
Now Putin is. Signed what is effectively the same as an executive order here, removing the age limit for service, right?
That's
so
great.
It's not 40 years old anymore. Any male in the country can now get deployed, basically.
Is it drafted? Are they getting drafted?
Oh, they're conscription.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say.
The bulk of their early forces were conscripted. Their infantry guys were all conscripted. The artillery people were trained, but all the infantry dudes were conscripted.
And if you want to find a really great example of why conscriptions don't work, look at the initial invasion and these 60-year-old women beating these Russian boys back with sticks,
calling their moms on the phone and embarrassing them. That
literally happened.
No shit.
It's wild to watch. There's tons of videos of these little Ukrainian women, they've had to deal with Russians 3 or 4 different times. They've dealt with Chechen extremists that have come there like 2 or 3 times. So at this point, they're like, I don't care.
Right.
And they'll walk out with this like little twig and be like just smacking these Russian soldiers who like have guns in their faces. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you gonna shoot me? Like, I might fucking whip you with my little twitch.
Yeah.
It's wild. These bitches have the biggest balls ever, and I love them.
They don't care, it seems like.
Yeah, they're fresh out of fucks.
Well, they know something that's always been true for humanity, maybe for all animals, that comfortable people in the West have forgotten, and that is if you give an inch, they'll take your fucking life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you can, despotism has to be met with the most severe consequences and severe and immediate consequences. Otherwise, it festers like cancer.
Yeah, so wild that's a really great point. You know, I'm going to give, in this battle of attrition, I'm going to give an inch, right? Well, that's an inch that you've lost that you'll never get back. And the only form of any characteristic, any value is absolute relentlessness and resistance. That's the only thing that they respect. And when I say resistance, as we talk about fascism, because that label has been thrown at the Ukrainian government about how they were training some of their youth in resistance. Had they not done that, they would have lost that whole entire country, like all the way to the Polish border. Had the Ukrainians not implemented proper resistance training all the way down into middle school, all of Ukraine would have been lost to Russia immediately. But they did have resistance, and they did have resolve, and old women down to 8-year-old boys building Molotov cocktails, and 7-year-old girls that were learning how to stuff wicks inside of glass bottles. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's kind of a real Rosie the Riveter story, right? In World War II, where women took over the production of war materials because all the men were fighting. Except for this time, it was old women and children.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask your thoughts here on this, because former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger says we should just give, or Ukraine should just give up the territory to Russia. What are your thoughts on that?
You could ask Poland if they want Russia as neighbors. You could ask the Czech Republic if they want to be one country less removed from, the former Soviet
Well, I think
Union.
what he said is the eastern part of the country.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't see how Ukraine takes that back. I don't think they can.
Ukraine's not going to. Ukraine's not.
Right.
Not without intervention from us. And I don't want to be in World War III, but I also don't want Russia continuing to move west into Europe.
And do you think that would happen if the Ukraine just gave up? Do you think that would happen where they do go after Poland or Belarus or?
No, they're going to look at Lviv and be like, man, Lviv is only 6 hours away. They have a huge engineering plant there where they build engines for helicopters.
Yeah.
Oh, man, what else is in Lviv? Oh, all the military infrastructure that supports the rest of central and east Ukraine. Man, that'd be really nice to have. It's not like Russia is going to look and be like, cool, we got the capital. Like, we made it to the river, and then we pushed past the river. Now we're in Kyiv. And then they're like, man, but they got all the infrastructure over there to the west. Man, that looks pretty nice over there.
Yeah.
It's Russia.
Russia will do what it does, which is they are very pragmatic in this way. They will take what they think they can take and towards what they think is the end of their ability, they will start to find solutions diplomatically, right? And then they'll take a year or two off, and then they'll start applying economic pressure, the same like withholding natural gas and oil from Europe, for example, to get better trade deals and shit like that. And then there'll be a couple-year period in between that, and then they'll make a move on somebody else.
Because what they're saying, Kissinger is saying, is that Ukraine must give up some of its territory to Russia for the war to end and to avoid a wider conflict, which is probably what you're talking about. If they keep moving west, right?
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't have a choice but to get involved, one would think.
But
it's hard to know as a leader of something, though, when it's time to stop sacrificing people for the cause, right? Like it's hard. Would you know when you're defeated? Because I wouldn't. I would fight until they blew my brains out of the back.
Imagine being Ukrainian and a foreign nation just invaded your sovereign country, killed your brothers and sisters, all the youth, like all of the men, military-age men in that country, they're not allowed to leave. Like, as I was taking a train into Poland, there was one military-age man on there, and the Ukrainian Custom Border Patrol was on him for every single proof of like what was happening and why he was leaving the country. And he had a really, really valid reason. But I mean, they on a train was like essentially think like Gestapo SS style, like where are you going? Why are you doing this? Why are you leaving the country? Why are you in Ukraine why are you in a train out of Ukraine into Poland? And like that guy had to provide some pretty extraordinary proof and approval through the government where he was going. And it was like this humanitarian kind of crisis Red Cross thing to go get a family member in Poland. And then he had a date to come back. But there has been no consequence. Putin and Russia invaded a sovereign nation, right? And we're like, oh, we're going to put some sanctions on you. You know, like, oh, like nothing.
Right.
So they can just, like you just said, they can just keep inching their way. Time is on their side. It's a battle of attrition. They can diplomatically, via information, military, economic means, start continuing to encroach on Ukraine until finally they just have what they want.
Yeah, I mean, we fucked this up. We've talked about this a lot on the show with the encroachment of NATO and shit, but after they went after Georgia back in the day, we should have immediately admitted all of those border countries into NATO.
Amen.
Immediately.
Yep.
That would have been, we fucked up in the first part, but there's no undoing that.